So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay?
Well, listen here.
Hello, and welcome to 90 Day Fiance Okay. I'm Mr. O, and today, Miss H and I will be discussing the Season 6 Tell-All, Part 2 of Happily Ever After. In this episode, we hear from the rest of the couples. Angela sets a new cast record for storming off stage. Charlie wants to bro it up with everyone, bro. Yara has a current pregnancy scare. And no one talks to Tammy's mom like that. Since this is the last episode of the season, we'll end with our power rankings of the cast. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and subscribe. If you also watch Love After Lockup, please listen to our other podcast, Love After Lockup Okay. All right, thanks for listening, stay safe, and enjoy.
Hello, Mr. O.
Hello, Miss H.
How are you today?
I'm not at work, so that was a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't have to go back to work till Friday. And you're already back at work.
Yes, I was going to say I'm definitely dragging. So
I know.
It's been a very long day, and we are recording a little bit later.
Super late, yeah.
Yeah, well, super late for you, but definitely a lot later than we're used to recording. But it was mostly because I had to watch like 4 hours of television when I got home from work because I didn't do it this weekend. So Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I think it's funny because we watch this, and as long as the tell-all is for us, you can tell like when they wrapped it at the end and they kind of kept the cameras rolling for it. It's so long for all these people to be sitting in that room. It's just like, oh my, it sounds terrible. It sounds like a horrible experience all around.
I would also have to complain about this particular part of the tell-all. This part I feel like was just a cutting room floor, like. There was nothing revealed. This was the same old shit, just restirred, and it's just like hashing out things that don't have a resolution. They never had a resolution on this season. It's just like, wow. So speaking of which, let's go ahead and get started with Andrei and Libby. So they tell us that things are going well, and Andrei is still working with Chuck, and they have already flipped a couple houses. They move on to the discussion of the babysitter briefly, and Libby is frustrated that Andrei doesn't understand why she needed one while working full-time remotely. Andrei is worried because of things he's seen on the internet, and thinks that with the exception of doing her nails, Libby is fully capable of multitasking. Kalani sticks up for Libby, saying that kids are constantly needing your full attention because they are always on the move. Yara, on the other hand, sides with Andrei, saying she gets that you need help, but she doesn't trust strangers taking care of her baby. Okay, so then we move on to the family drama. We find out that kind of the family's cut off Charlie because of the huge fight at the barbecue, and he's even been cut out of the family business. Chuck comes out and says that Andrei is the root of all the problems, even though he technically chose Andrei over Charlie. Jen shows up on video to say that Andrei is manipulative and takes advantage of Chuck, and she accuses him of wanting to compete with Chuck, and Chuck says that he would see that as a betrayal. But then we see a clip of Jen, Becky, and Thomas saying they will compete with Chuck. Jen defends herself and says that they just said that because they were mad. Andrei suggests that she will get phased out next, and Chuck tells him that won't be happening because Jen is a valuable asset to the business. Jovi suggests that they should be looking for a way to work with each other rather than trying to muscle out the people that they don't get along with. Andrei gets defensive and says that he has no interest in working with them. Charlie then comes out and they show the clip of the barbecue. Libby blames Charlie for how he came out, and Andrei accuses Charlie of being a fuck up and an alcoholic. Jen says that Charlie tries to fight with everyone in the family, and it ends up that Chuck hasn't actually worked with Charlie in a while, and Charlie says that he has his own business, so whatever, as he says bro like 500 times.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Whatever,
but bro. Even Jen was like, don't call me bro. Sean asks both of them to apologize for their role in all these arguments, and Andrei just straight up refuses, while Charlie says, I don't even hold a grudge. Okay, so Andrei does say at some point that all of this has to do with Charlie being an alcoholic. So
yeah.
Do you think that if Charlie was sober, Andrei would still treat him the way that he treats him?
I mean, I think if Charlie was sober, he wouldn't always be making such an ass of himself in front of everybody. And then Andrei wouldn't treat him like an ass. Like sometimes, and to be fair, Andrei definitely does kind of get out of his lane quite a bit.
Yes.
Right? There's a lot of times where you're like, dude, just, you didn't have to say that, man. Like, just, you're not wrong, but you didn't have to say that. And I don't know. And I mean, honestly, especially with the way he, okay, bro, you got me, bro. It didn't seem like alcohol is his only problem.
Sure.
It seems like he has other substance problems besides alcohol going on.
And we know that historically this has also been an issue, Charlie and sobriety.
Yes. Right. And so, especially because they made it pretty clear Andrei's not the only person he doesn't get along with. Right. So it definitely would be different.
So my issue with Andrei is that he has like just this really inflated sense of self. He seems to think he's better than everyone, and he treats he talks to everyone like that. Right. And I do feel like he comes off more aggressive than he even thinks he does. But I think that's what a lot of these family dramas come in, because like even like Andrei saying like, sit down. You know, and he explains it like, oh, well, you know, we were eating and I just, you know, asked you to take a seat. And like he even says like, oh, take a seat. But it's like, but that's not what you said. So even if your intention, right. So even if your intention was like, please take a seat, it's like, that's not how it came out. So I feel like in his head, he's not as aggressive as he comes off. And so he's somewhat confused by the fact that everyone else seems really aggressive to him.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean, but he definitely has that like machismo thing going on where he comes out and is like, oh, nobody's gonna tell me what to do. Oh, we'll snuff you out and bring you out of the business. Like all that stuff like kind of comes out, which I thought was a little weird because there's all those little things that don't like go ununderstood as they're supposed to be, right? Like Jen was like, you know, they watched this whole clip about Jen starting another business, and he was like, well, then we'll just muscle you out. We'll just snuff you out. He wasn't say snuffing out of Chuck's business. She was like, if you start another business, we will crush you. Like that's our business will defeat your business. But it's like just the number of times you just you didn't have to say anything. Now, the part that got me was like I watched that fight over and over again of like, you know, forensic detail just to be like, who started the fight? Because I want to know who started the fight. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Right. It was 100% Charlie, by the way, because like, Charlie said that, and you know, Andrei said, sit the hell down, and sit the fuck down, which is fine, because it was kind of an eye-rolly, like, just shut up and sit down, dude. Just shut up. But then they were like, but Andrei got up in his face, and it was like, Charlie started walking to him. Right? And it's like, even if you're not getting up to have a fight with somebody, your natural response when you're sitting down and someone's aggressively walking towards you is you get up to at least protect yourself, because you know what's going on. So, I don't know. It is true, though, that I wouldn't say he causes a lot of the problems as much as he doesn't diffuse conflict. And it's kind of everybody else's move to diffuse conflict, and he only knows how to escalate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I would actually be okay kind of never seeing this couple again.
I'd be fine with that. I mean, it just seems like this whole family was angling so hard for a spinoff.
They really
that I hope
were.
they don't get it.
Yeah. I'm over them.
Yeah. All right. So I actually had one couple. We heard more from Angela and Michael because apparently we needed that. So we come back because it was like the very beginning. Everyone's awkwardly kind of waiting around for Angela to calm down and return to the stage after she flashed the camera. And then backstage, Angela is like ranting and raving about what Psychic Tracy said. It was a woman whose name starts with an L.
And oh my gosh.
Skyla serves as our Angela anger translator and says that Angela is tired of dealing with Aunt Lydia and how she has too much to say about their relationship. And Michael didn't help by hushing her. So kind of to fill time, Sean asked the other cast members what they think about it. Yara says Angela is extra. Kalani says that she just has a big personality and was frustrated. And then Andrei says that Michael plays with her feelings. I know, but when Libby says that Michael was not being supportive, by the way, Michael can hear all of this. He's still on his like Zoom feed. Michael jumps in to clarify the issue. When Angela was arguing, he wasn't hushing her because, you know, he thought she was wrong. He was hushing her because it's appropriate to let someone finish their point before jumping in. You can't have a discussion or argument if you're just cutting everybody off all the time. But then after a smoke break, Angela comes back to the studio expressing regret to that because everyone's seen her tits now. She apologized for being vulgar and for the way she acted, but not for her message, which is stay out of her business. Lydia does not think that she's overstepping her bounds because blah, 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 a Nigerian man, blah, blah, has kids, whatever. Angela says that when asked as of today, if Michael wants kids, then he can go marry somebody else. And then at this point, I lost the music because she started ranting again. And I lost the thread, and then until she said something about booty popping music, Michael was like, "You said you were at church, and I heard booty popping music." And there was a lot of Facebook friend requests, and you told me when she sent a request that it sounded like some teenage drama. Anyway, she says that her marriage is a Nigerian marriage, so it's not legitimate here. So Michael can leave and have a good life, and then she gets up and walks out of the studio again. Anyway, I think during that whole argument against Michael, I think he said maybe 10 words. She pretty much just had the argument with herself. But anyway, Sean notes that this is the first time in 90 Day history that somebody's walked off the stage twice. Anyway, backstage, Michael calls her, and she has this whole big, long, stupid speech prepared about how she's done and say goodbye to her tits or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I thought we were done with them again, but then we come back and talk about how much Michael likes Angela's boobs and how he breastfed until he was 9, which leads to another weird conversation about how long all the mothers on stage breastfed. And I don't know. It seemed like a weird way to leave it. Why does no one listen to Michael? Because I feel like he said like one thing. He had one coherent thought he was allowed to express during this entire time.
Was that the part where he talked about breastfeeding till he was 9? I'm
sorry, 2 coherent thoughts.
Okay.
Breastfeeding till he was 9, which wasn't really coherent. It was like, it's my mother. It's like, yeah, that's who you breastfeed from.
Yeah.
But like, no, he's like, listen, I just want to have one argument where someone is allowed to finish a thought before Angela screams at them, and then Angela comes in and doesn't let anybody finish a thought. And the thing is Libby asked. He said that to Libby, right?
Yeah.
Who was like, well, you should stand up for Angela instead of Aunt Lydia. And it's like, that didn't respond to what he said at all.
Right.
It's like, so I just feel bad for the guy sitting there trying to talk and nobody, it's like he might as well be on mute.
Yeah, I do feel bad for him, but at the same time, it's like, you know who you're dealing with.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
And also, like, not to change the subject, but can we get back to the breastfeeding thing? Okay, I have to say, like, just, but seriously, about Michael and Angela, like, she's now saying that she's done. She's really done. And it's just like, I'm just tired of this situation.
I'm tired of her saying she's done.
Yeah,
when
mad, she's not really
screaming
done.
At everybody. And when she gets to that point, she's just yelling incoherent thoughts.
Yeah,
they're not even a put together cohesive thought. It's just yelling and Tracy the psychic and booty popping music, and it's like, what is she even talking about? I don't even know what she's talking about.
Yeah. I just am over them. I'm surprised to hear about how their wedding kind of means nothing except for in this visa process, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think she might have made that up a little bit.
Right, because it seems to me that if you don't have a like legitimately recognized marriage, how could you even apply for this visa? That doesn't make any sense. So I feel like there's probably more, and she does need to legally divorce him.
Right.
I mean, I feel like that if she were to just marry another American, it would be impossible to verify a marriage if she's not going to offer it up. Because remember that, like, when you got married, you have to prove that you're not married, I guess.
Yeah.
Related, married.
You have to. There's no way to prove you're not married.
Right. Sure.
But they do run like a record search on you. Sure.
Yeah. So like stuff like that, where it's just like, I feel like, yeah, you could probably say you're not married and it's not recognized in America, but not because not recognized in America. It's just because we don't have universal records of these things.
Right. I mean, okay, so we can go back to the breastfeeding. Like,
Oh, God.
9 is excessively old.
There were 2 things that bothered me specifically about this conversation that he said. One was the way he said that he even breastfed. He said that he just liked to play with his mom's boobs.
That's not breastfeeding. That's
Yeah.
something different.
He's like, oh, well, I would just go up and like play with them. It's like,
That's
He's like, but it's my
horrifying.
mom. It's like, like no child should be fondling their mom's breast just cuz.
yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
that's weird. Okay, then the other thing was, and then for some reason he made this the excuse that he was the baby. That's even more confusing to me, how he's the one who breastfed the longest, because it seems to me like, let's say he was the oldest, then he could hypothetically breastfeed because the milk would still be coming with the new kids behind him.
The milk comes as long as somebody feeds on it. That's why they used to have like milkmaids back in the Middle Ages, right?
Yeah.
When you were done with yours, you got like whatever, and you just had new babies, and there was always a baby on it, right? But no, the oldest got kicked off when the new baby needed to breastfeed.
Oh, that's what he meant. Okay.
Yeah, and so there was nobody behind him kicking him off. And so I was subtly curious if they were kind of using like the breastfeeding as like a form of birth control. Like if she kept breastfeeding him, then she, was less likely. I'm pretty sure you are less likely to get pregnant if you're if you're breastfeeding. I definitely not 100%. I can definitely tell you that for sure, certain, but it's like harder.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I've heard of people getting pregnant and thinking that, but I get what you're saying, because I've heard people thinking that that is a legitimate form of birth control when clearly it is not, because then they are surprised when they get like Irish twins.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, and so my kids were born 15 months apart, so there was definitely still some of that going on, but it wasn't like we weren't surprised. Like we didn't have those illusions about it, but I'm curious as to if maybe that's why she let him go that long. In terms of it was all weird. It was weird because he just you're right, because he didn't even mention like the actual feeding. He was like, I just like my mom. I jump with my mom and I played with her boobs. And I was like,
no, that's not the same as breastfeeding. Like maybe we should have him define what he thinks breastfeeding is.
Right.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's move on to Yara and Jovi. Speaking of breasts. Because the first thing that we do is relive the strip club incident. And everyone questions Jovi's motivations for taking them on their anniversary, it ends up. Yara vents her frustration about her life in America, and if things don't work out, she'll leave to go to Ukraine because it's easier to care for Mila with family around. Gwen videos in and tells us that Jovi has a lot of growing up to do. Gwen says that raising a family is #1 priority now. Jovi is saying all the right things, but Gwen says that he's not actually listening. Gwen thinks that Yara is too attached to Mila, and she understands how it happens since, they're together all the time. When asked if they're planning to have more kids, Yara tells us the only interesting thing that came out on this tell-all, which is that she hasn't had a period in a while, which seems to shock Gwen. She doesn't want to take a pregnancy test, although it's a little unclear why. Yara doesn't want to be pregnant right now because if she was, she would move back to Ukraine because she needs more support raising 2 kids by herself because Jovi's gone for work. Mm-hmm. They have tried to get a visa for Yara's mom, but it's been taking a really long time. Jovi doesn't seem adamantly opposed to Yara moving to Ukraine, and Kalani and Asuelu talk about their back-to-back babies, trying to relate to the situation. And I feel like being a cautionary tale as well.
Right. You're like,
yeah. All right. So, it was weird, but they seem to be in denial about this pregnancy. And that's the reason why they didn't want to take a pregnancy test. Mm-hmm. So why do you think they're like really being weird about this pregnancy test thing?
I mean, I think she was being weird about the pregnancy test, and she was just like, the longer I don't know, the better. Like, I'd rather not know than like I'd rather not know than get an answer I don't like. Do
you think they really don't know though?
Well, I don't think she's pregnant. Like she's not pregnant now.
Oh, okay. Because what I thought was really weird was behind the scenes, remember afterwards, Julia went up to her and was like, oh, the baby. And she like you know, kind of like rubbed her stomach. And I was just like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, she kind of did that pregnant like lady thing where she put one hand above and one hand below her stomach and like stuck it out.
Right.
But, like, I don't know, because that is another thing now we go with, because she is still breastfeeding, and like that would say, like we said, it's not foolproof birth control by anybody's idea, but it definitely can mess with your cycle, right? It can definitely mess with like what's going on and how long things. Now 2 months seems like there's something going on, but I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much, but she definitely was like, I don't know. And I think she had the right move. Like, I think as sucky as it was for Mrs. Gwen, like going to Ukraine after that with the second baby is probably the right move for her.
Yeah.
Because, this is what I couldn't get. I don't know why Jovi doesn't have another job. Like,
right. Especially if these are the options. Like, yes, you're right. I would really consider, like, if I was Jovi, being like, okay, I want my wife to stay in the US. I want to stay in the US. Well, guess what? That means I have to find a job where I'm not traveling all the time. Yeah. So it's like, you know, if he's okay with moving to Ukraine just to keep his job, then that's his decision. And I don't feel, you know, bad about it, you know, because he had options. But, you know, yeah, I agree. Like, he does have options.
That just seems, I don't know, that's just very much not the way I would play it, is to be like, this job that I'm away for months at a time is so important to me that I will let my wife, we will move to a different country. Although I don't know, maybe moving to a different country doesn't even sound like all that undesirable to him. Maybe he'd be fine with that anyway.
You know, honestly, I think it would resolve a lot of their issues if they did move to Ukraine, because he doesn't have kind of the friend base to go partying all the time. Sure. And so it would kind of put some distance from, you know, the vices that he has. He would kind of have to focus on like the family. And I do think it would make her just generally feel more comfortable.
Oh, she definitely would. And it was like, it just, I mean, as you know, generous and as gracious as Gwen has been, it's different just to like rely on your own mom. Like, to do the baby stuff. It really is.
Definitely. All right. Last up that we heard from this week on the tell-all was Kalani and Asuelu. We pick up where we left off with Asuelu wanting to move back to Samoa. Asuelu thinks it would be a good compromise for Kalani to live there for 3 years because he's been living here for 3 years. Asuelu says he wants her to see their way of life in Samoa, which includes the men doing all the things food related. Asuelu is called out for not making food at home now, and he claims to not know how to use the oven. Kalani thinks Asuelu wants to make her more submissive. We then get to see Lucina and Tammy. They're there, and Asuelu starts cussing as soon as they make the announcement that, you know, they are there at the tell-all. They play the Christmas party fight scene where Asuelu kicks out Tammy and Lucina and kind of does that weird tackle shoving them out. When asked if Kalani wants Asuelu not to talk to Lucina and Tammy, she just cries. Tammy says it's disrespectful of them for kicking them out. Asuelu says Kalani has the final say when it comes to having more kids, which is, if you recall, where this argument kind of went south for them. Right. They both want to have a daughter at some point, but Tammy is being argumentative and keeps defending Lucina. Tammy tries to go after Kalani and Yara. Natalie sides with Lucina and Tammy, saying that there is no excuse for Asuelu to shove his mom. All of a sudden, a verbal fight breaks out with Natalie, Yara, Michael, and Tammy, with Tammy being kind of belligerent. Like, she wasn't really... Okay, she was belligerent. She was being the belligerent aggressor and clearly not picking up on some of the references that the other castmates were making about other situations. So it kind of made her look like the fool. Tammy then says that Asuelu owes her an apology for being a spoiled brat. Asuelu needs time to think about if he wants to reconcile with his mom. Lucina came because she wanted an apology, and she obviously didn't get that, and so she blames it on the fact that Asuelu is weak and a baby. All right, so what do you think Tammy's redeeming qualities are?
She could, I mean, she would win in a lot of fights. Does that count? Like, I feel like she could probably take Natalie. I don't know what.
Is that a redeeming quality?
I'm trying hard because I was like,
Her devotion to her mom seems to be the only one that I can think of.
okay, I think, yeah, and it's, I guess so.
Even though it's really misguided a lot of times.
Very misguided. Because I was even trying to think of, well, does she dress nice? No. Like, she was wearing a weird, ugly shirt. No.
She has nice hair.
Good. I mean, her hair is put together. I mean, her hair is nice itself, but I feel like she could have styled it better.
Oh, sure.
I don't know. I was really digging deep there. But, like, yeah, it's just, well, the thing is, too, is I feel like her, whatever, devotion to her mom is like a cover for herself being selfish. I don't care if it should push me out. You shouldn't push your mom out, because she gets on the don't be disrespectful to my mom off of some very, very benign comments.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right? It was like, it was something like, yeah, like even like we flash back to the Christmas episode, right? Mm-hmm. And Kalani was like, I think that, Kalani's body, it's her choice. And she was like, don't you disrespect my mom like that. And it's like, did she just, and like anytime anybody talked to Lucina at all, it was basically like, no, you don't talk to her. You're disrespecting her. Yeah.
All right. So I don't know. I don't have much else to talk about.
Can I point this out about this? Because this I don't feel like came up, right? When they were talking about it, because they're talking about more kids, mm-hmm. and they talked about how they want to have a daughter, and it was like went by super fast.
Yes.
Does Asuelu want to have a daughter because the daughter is going to take care of him when he's older, and the sons won't? The sons won't be expected to, and he has to have a daughter to take care of him when he gets old.
I hope that's not the reason why he wants to have a daughter.
I think that's why it went through. I think it was like, you need to have a daughter, or else who's going to take care of you when you get old?
Yeah, but then he's still kind of also expected to take care of his parents, right?
Right, but I think he's expected to take care of his mom and I think it's it. I don't think they're asking him to go and have a place for her to stay, or if she needs new clothes. But he's supposed to be sending money, like he's supposed to be financially supporting him, while Tammy's the one who lives with her and takes care of her and does that.
Yeah, but then what about his dad? Does anyone take care of him? I think I would need to know his dad's situation before I could really answer that,
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. That was something I thought I caught and was like, wait a second.
I feel like that's part of like Tammy and Lucina is kind of more like a mother-daughter bond, right?
Right.
So I feel like that's why she is very close with her and taking care of her and things like that. Because, mm-hmm. I mean, they have a ton of kids. It seems like Tammy's the only one who's really kind of actively taking care of Lucina like that.
She said it in the Christmas thing. I have 9 kids.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So many kids. Yeah. All right. So that's all of our couples. Mm-hmm. But because it's the end of the season, we have power rankings.
Yes. Power rankings.
All right. So we have numbered the individuals that appear on this show, main cast only, 1 to 14, I believe.
1 to 14.
And,
yes.
So number 1 is the best, I guess, cast member. Yeah. And number 14 is who we would consider the worst. I would be very interested to see what you have as your order, because we actually just finished recording the Love After Lockup, and this is the closest Mr. O and I have ever been to really being aligned in our list. But I kind of feel like this cast is going to be more all over the place.
I think so too.
I don't expect us to be so aligned.
There's definitely lots of reasons to put lots of people all over the place.
Right. Okay, we'll start off with your number 1.
My number 1 was Kalani.
Okay, not too far off.
I mean, she just. I thought they were a good couple this time. The last time we saw him, it was really rough. She meets him where he needs to be, appreciates what he has to do. She's still the one that's strong and like doing the work and stuff. So, I mean, she's just there, and I couldn't think of anything that she did all season long that I didn't like or I thought was bad. And so that puts her close to the top of the list.
Okay. So my number 1 was Yara.
Sure.
Because I couldn't identify anything that Yara really did wrong. She did a lot of the right things. And I think a lot of like maybe her more questionable things that maybe according to Jovi, you know, like some of the decisions she made, having to do with parenting or just like their living situation, I think was to make herself more comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. She has probably had some of the biggest challenges of any individuals this season, just being like, and I mean high stakes, you know, challenges, right? Having to take care of a baby while you're sick with COVID, while, you know, you're, you know, by yourself because your husband like can't get home or he just has to work, dealing with Jovi, who's still like figuring out this whole fatherhood and kind of being a jerk sometimes along the way. And it's like, when I think about Yara and Kalani, I think the biggest difference for me is Kalani has support here. Right. And so it's not like Kalani doesn't have to raise kids and she's doing her part. But Kalani was my number 2. But I think just because of all the challenges Yara had, it just made her seem I was a little bit more empathetic to Yara's situation. So Yara was my number 1. Kalani was my number 2. I would say that Kalani did a lot to really mend their relationship this year. So it puts her pretty high up.
Yeah, so Yara was my number 2.
Okay.
And I put her just a little bit behind because of some of the stuff she did with the, we can't go, we can't leave Mila. She had to be with her all the time. Just a little bit of that, that kind of overly aggressive, like motherhood, it can't be separated from the kid thing. Just put her, she's still like one of the most level-headed people on here, obviously. But that just put her just below Kalani for me.
Well, you know, and I will defend my decision on this because Kalani isn't all that different from Yara.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
Look at the, you know, when they went on that ranch vacation, Kalani's still breastfeeding and having to go in the middle of the night to comfort her sons, even though they're supposed to be like on vacation, just the 2 of them. Well, I mean, 2 of them plus babies nearby, kind of similar to what Yara and Jovi did.
Yeah.
So who was your number 3?
My number 3 was Asuelu.
Mine was 2. Major improvement.
Major
from
improvement.
Last season.
He actually seemed to get through his head. Oh, wow, I actually have to work at something. And then worked at. I mean, he had missteps along the way, but at least he was trying.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, I agree. All right. What about your number 4?
This is where I feel like we're going to just mess it up. Because I was like, I don't know. There were so many people I just like blank slates kind of.
Yeah.
And one of my blank slates was Brandon.
Yes. Okay. Mine was 2. I have him as my number 4.
Just because like didn't really do much. He moved off the farm.
Yeah. That was something. He followed through on a promise.
Yeah.
He was mostly neutral. He didn't do anything too bad. Sometimes he just says dumb things. Like he wasn't super supportive when Julia was trying to get a job. Right. He might have insulted her, you know, kind of more unintentionally.
He does that annoying thing where he makes a joke when she's trying to have a serious conversation.
Yeah. Like, he just seems more of like a doofus bonehead about things. Like, like, you know, not intentionally trying to offend people, but then does. Yeah. So, number 4. What about your number 5?
Number 5 was Libby.
Okay. Weird. We're definitely on the same wavelength so far. Mine was also Libby.
Because, again, pretty much as their family was in it, she wasn't. Like, she was just kind of there the whole time. Like, pretty much a neutral. She didn't do that annoying thing where she's done in seasons past where she doesn't take Andrei's side. Or, you know, or does until the family's around and they take the family's side. Right. And kind of does it. She didn't do that this time, but I don't know. I feel like their whole storyline had very little to do with her at all.
Yeah. And so that's funny that you should say that because the one moment that I could think about where I was just like, oh, Libby, no, was the argument that they had got in because Andrei wasn't watching Eleanor. But then she did exactly what you said that, you know, you don't like it when she does, which was basically like turned on Andrei. And all of a sudden it was like, you know, Libby and the sisters versus Andrei for, a second. So, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay. What about your number 6?
My number 6 was Julia.
Okay. Julia was a little bit farther down for me.
I could see that. So
it was tell-all based, though. It really was.
I thought it would have more to do. Time. I mean, the reason she's as low is because that weird jealousy thing she has going on.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That obviously moves her down. and would move her down, except for everybody below her I have more serious problems with.
Right.
And so, obviously the jealousy thing is there. She is awfully judgmental at the tell-alls.
Yes.
She is kind of a little holier than thou. Not as holier than thou as some other people.
Right.
But and I can see that, but it was just like, I mean, at the end of the day, she just wanted to get the 28-year-old dude to move out of his parents' house. And that's a reasonable goal for your husband.
Yeah.
And so I don't think she wants crazy things. It's just that, she's has a bad way of going about it sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, quite honestly, and this happened the last season that they were on, it's not that she even does anything that's like truly terrible. I mean, yes, obviously in both seasons we've had her being crazy jealous, but I think the thing for me is it's like her kind of casual personality comes out more on the tell-all because she's interacting with it's like she's only ever really even mostly nice to Brandon. She's kind of a terrible person to almost everyone else.
Sure.
And so it's kind of like, I just don't like her as a person. So that's definitely why she's further down on my list. But we'll get to it when we get to it. I mean, I don't have much else to say, but I'll, say what her ranking is when we get to it.
Who was your 6 then?
My number 6 was Jovi.
Okay.
So I think the most objectionable thing that Jovi did was the strip club incident.
Sure,
and it was pretty bad. And that's why it scooted him down the list. However, I would say, that being said, he was a huge improvement over the first time we saw him.
Fair.
And so it's like, there's growth and potential there, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah. I mean, so Jovi was my number 7. So that's pretty close. Obviously the strip club incident was really bad, but that was like the flash of what we saw him. He was like that all the time last season. Yeah. But I also didn't like you're just not the same. I want fun Yara back.
Boring Yara. Yeah, that's not the way.
Yara.
It's not the way to get someone to do something. Yeah.
So that was, number 7.
Okay. You said your number 7. Okay, so my number 7 was Tiffany. And I feel like I'm going to regret this because I feel like you have definitely put Tiffany further down. Honestly, the reason why for me Tiffany was in the middle is because everyone else I didn't like them and they were like worse than Tiffany, right? But I recognize that Tiffany is an awful partner when it comes to like anything related with like confidence, self-esteem, all of that. She is constantly berating Ronald, constantly pointing out his deficits, what she's not getting. He needs to be better. And it's not that it's unfair what she's saying. A lot of things that she's saying is fair, but it's like, it's easy to see how someone becomes so defensive and, kind of tunes you out when they're hearing it the way that she's delivering the message. Yeah.
I mean, Ronald's not wrong. So actually, Tiffany was right there with me. She was number 8. Like she was the next one down. Because and it was the same thing. Obviously, I talk about it all the time. I do not like Tiffany. I don't like her as a person. Like the same way you feel about Julia, that's kind of how I feel about Tiffany. Like I wouldn't really want to have much to do with her. I wouldn't talk. I don't think I could be friends with her. Like she just drives me crazy as a person. And so, but in the situation they're at, she did have issues with the relationship that needed to get dealt with. But like the fact that the thing that drove Ronald the most crazy about her is she would never admit she was at fault for any of it ever.
Right.
Like everything in her world is, I am 100% right. You are 100% wrong. I do 100% of the work. You do 0% of the work. And that's just like infuriating because it's not true. Everyone knows that's not true. She is the most, and I mentioned it before, she is the most like holier than thou person on the show.
Yeah, you're not wrong. All right. So that was
my number 8. Now that means everybody below her, as much as I just said, everybody below her did things that were like just atrociously bad.
Okay. So my 8 was Michael from Angela and Michael. So he's my number 8. I would say that the worst thing he did this season was basically not being there to support Angela during her surgeries. Mm-hmm. And I understand where he was coming from, even though it was a terrible thing to do.
Right.
And it's because in dealing with Angela, she doesn't listen and doesn't respond when he actually does communicate. And so his way of kind of trying to get her attention was to basically ignore her. Now, it came at a terrible time, and even Mike and Natalie had the good sense to know, like, if your wife is in surgery, doesn't matter the status of things, you still got to be there, right? So, I mean, but, but it's like, I can't even imagine, like, having to deal with a personality and someone like Angela, right? How do you resolve any conflict with her? She's someone that is very hard-headed, and what do you do?
Yeah. So Michael was my number 9, like right down the next one. So if we just shift Julia down, we're right on Mike.
So speaking of which, Julia is my number 9, I guess. Yeah, my number 9. And mostly just because with the tell-all, with her insistence, it's like, I really got the sense, and they didn't talk about it too much just because they were trying to be delicate about not disclosing too much information on Ron's medical stuff.
Right,
yes. Right. But it sounds like that it's something that they want to be closer, either to help out around because, maybe Ron's not able to like do things, or just for the moral support. And the fact that Julia was so incredibly unsupportive and like unsympathetic to what Brandon was going through, and her stupid jealousy. And it's just like, and I just don't find her to be a likable person. So therefore she's my number, 9.
9.
Yeah.
9. Yes.
Yes. 9.
All right. So we have covered the same people now.
Yes.
We have 5 more left.
Yep. So same 5.
Maybe different order. We'll see.
Yeah.
So my number 10 was Seattle Mike.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay.
And well, it's interesting because I had to make a judgment call, right? And I'll talk about the judgment call when I get to Natalie, who's obviously lower on the list. But the things we know for sure that he did were pretty bad.
Yeah.
Right. The way he dealt with his mom was really bad. Just overall, we talked about it a lot. They're both bad relationship people. Like both of them are just really, really bad at it. And they both lie a lot. And so that's hard to get around what's really going on because nobody is telling the truth. And I don't like his woe is me. Like, I tried to come in here and the thing. I want to give it one last shot, but I guess I'm the dummy. Blah, blah, blah. Like, it does drive me nuts. So put him really, really low down. But yeah, I feel like I have to have the rest of that conversation when I get to Natalie.
Yeah. Okay. So, my number 11 is Angela.
Or 10.
10?
10.
Okay. Yes, 10. My number 10 is Angela.
Okay.
So, I mean, I feel like she didn't really do anything out of character for her. Right. And she really didn't do anything truly stupid against someone else. I mean, the stupidest thing she did was not being able to quit smoking and lying to people about it. But in terms of like her relationship with Michael, like he had wronged her for once, like, the BJ for real. I'm sure he wronged her then. But I mean, like it was mostly her reacting to things that he had done instead of her overreacting to, things that she's blowing out of proportion like we usually see of her, right? So I don't know. I thought it was a less crazy version of Angela this season, but granted, it was mostly because they weren't even physically together. I think this is our first season that we've seen them like physically apart, apart the entire time.
Together.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So Angela's lower on my list.
Yes.
We're getting
Well,
some
Mike is definitely lower on my list.
Getting some changes. Here. All right. So number 11 for me was Andrei.
Okay.
Because like he wasn't wrong most of the time. Like he was usually in the right, but then made an ass about himself by handling it bad. Like just making every situation worse. Like it drove me nuts every time he had the upper hand in an argument, or he won an argument, but then had to say one more thing, but then had to squeeze one more thing out of it. And the way he's, his attitude of better than everybody. I'm the best person, as he's hammering the refrigerator door off. Like,
God,
it's terrible. Like, ugh.
Yeah. Andrei's my number 12. I kind of wonder a little bit, and I am going backwards a little bit just to match you on this. I kind of wonder a little bit how Libby kind of ever fell for him, because it doesn't seem like he ever smiles or ever says anything like truly nice to anyone, or is like just generally pleasant or nice. Everything he says is either neutral or like aggressive. Right.
You know what though? I feel like, if you ever pay attention to like their social media and stuff, like he seems a lot happier there. Right. I feel like when he gets on the show, he's like, no, I have to be the big man on the show. And I'm going to be on, like, as soon as the cameras come in, I feel like he might turn into a little bit of a different person.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So going backwards, my number, what was this? 11 is 11. Ronald. I don't know why I think I had Ronald before. I think it was probably because out of the partners that are, of the people that are kind of left, his was one of the worst. And so that's why it's kind of like, would Ronald thrive with a different partner in a different situation? I'm not going to say he would, but maybe things would be different. But I do think a lot of his shutting down, his reactions have to do with his partner, and so I don't know. But then he did some pretty terrible things. It's not that I forgot about the fact that he's trying to kidnap the kids, hold people hostage, and try to give himself credit. The way he fights is stupid. The fact that he thinks of everything as having like a winner or a loser of every argument, of having sides, like that's all unhealthy stuff. So
yeah. Well, we'll get to Ronald later for me. I have things to say.
Well, yes. And I think you're also extra sensitive when it comes to any parenting things that happen.
Also true.
Yeah. So I think that's also probably where I don't want to say disagree, but view things differently,
Totally.
All right. So 12. We're on 12, right?
12. My 12 was Natalie.
Okay.
Because, and this is where I came to, either Mike or Natalie, one of the two of those people was lying 100 completely about their relationship.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
And based on kind of a tell-all and what I've seen recently, I'm pretty sure it was Natalie.
Okay.
That was more full of shit, like in terms of that. And I just hate the way, like I guess it really, the thing that and so that's why I put her below Mike. Like, oh man, I think they were both really bad in the relationship. I think she kind of made up your mom called me a hooker thing. I think she makes up a lot of stuff. I think she probably made up stuff that she told to Juliana. And like the way, especially at the end, the very end when she like walked out and like had to walk past Mike and was like, had that weird smile on her face when she got in the elevator.
She always has that smile where she's just like prancing around like, she's so weird.
Yeah, she's so weird. And like, and that's what it came. That was my decision. I was like, I had to decide where I wanted to put Mike and Natalie. And I kind of had my spots open. And I was like, who do I think was more full of shit? Because they're both full of shit. But who was more full of shit? And I came up with Natalie, I think.
Right. So my number 12 was Andrei, as we had said before. So who was your number 13?
My number 13 was Angela. Okay. Because I'm tired of seeing her on my TV and I don't like her. She's not entertaining. Yeah. She has that laugh that I mute when it comes on.
Oh, gosh.
And I don't want to listen to her laugh. I don't want to listen to her screaming at other people. I'm done. Listen to this lady. I think she was faking it at the tell-all. So the thing that always drives you nuts, the fame horse. She is a fame whore.
Oh, yeah, for sure she's a fame whore.
And so I'm tired.
She hams it up.
I don't want it anymore. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's she's now showing her tits because she knows she has to up the ante. Like it's all just I don't every time they mention her being on the show again, I roll my eyes and go groan. And this was no exception. She comes in that weird Dr. Eggman get up she was wearing. And then and we know she was all she was doing is just kind of sitting. When can I start screaming? When can I start screaming? When can I start screaming? Now. And it's like, and the whole season was like that. And if you want to go into the way she was acting, okay, yeah, Michael did do her wrong, right? But she also was flirting with everybody who looked at her twice. Right. She also was yelling at every Uber driver with no mask on during COVID the whole time. I don't like her. Get her off my TV.
Okay. We'll start a petition. All right. My number 13 was Natalie. So, so that makes it pretty obvious that my last one was Mike. So I put Natalie and Mike at the bottom because this couple, I hated them so much. It was so obvious from the beginning of when they were even having their visa journey that they were already over the relationship. Yeah. Right. So this is before they got married. So not this season. They were just over the relationship. It was kind of I guess we have to do this because we spent all this money with the visa. So come on over and let's get married. I guess we'll just try this out, right? And it has not gotten any better since. It's it's so clear and obvious that I don't want to say it's a sham marriage, but it's clearly a marriage where they both kind of even recognized going into it, yeah, we probably shouldn't get married, but there's all these weird circumstances where it feels like we can't really go back now. So we might as well continue down this path. And then Natalie is just a freaking weirdo, this entire time and doing shady stuff, not going home, staying at Juliana's house all the time. Her weird thing with, and you talk about Natalie because you already, so all kind of the same things. Having her secret pseudo boyfriend when she met up with Yara and Jovi. I don't know, just the two of them. I just never want to see them.
Mike was trying to talk to her and she kept doing at the rat.
Yeah.
She's just a weird person.
She is a very bizarre person. Yeah. All right. Are you on your 13?
No, I'm on my 13. I'm on my last one.
Okay, so I'll go
and say Mike. So why don't you go ahead and talk about why you hate Mike more than Natalie?
I hate Mike. I hate him every time he comes on the screen. I hate his big, stupid face. I hate that he is trying to make himself seem like he's this victim every single time. And, at least with Natalie, I would say the reason why Natalie ranks a little bit higher than me is, she just... I don't think she's trying to play it up. She's not trying to play it up for the camera she's this victim. She just she's a little clueless and dumb about things. No, she kind of does. You leave me in wood. You leave me in wood all alone. I scared in wood. I believe that is honest frustration. No, I really truly believe that's honest frustration. Whereas Mike, I feel well, but I feel like he is just, he knows what this is going to look like. He tries to make it look a certain way, but then at the same time, he's Mr. Moody over here, where he's constantly brooding, and it's just oh my goodness, I cannot deal with this person. He's so fake to me, and he's just so depressing to watch, and I just, I don't like him. And his whole thing with blindly believing his mom is just not even trying. It was it was so obvious that both of them weren't even trying to make this relationship happen. Right.
All right. So Ronald for me, number 14, lowest. Yes. And so he would have been pretty low just based on who he is. His weird, oh, women aren't going to tell me what to do.
Right.
Not women. We're not women. That's not women. Women aren't for telling. Men are for telling. Women are for doing. Right? That kind of weird macho crap. That's putting him pretty low. His kind of stubbornness in the relationship. His half-assedly trying. The babies are running around everywhere when he's sweeping the floor. I'm sweeping the floor. The way he made the room for Daniel and then glued the newspaper to the floor and also made a room that he can't sleep in. Because if you notice that, every time they get in a fight, he goes and takes the mattress out of that room and sleeps in the living room because that room is not habitable. So he made it's just the way he kind of half-assedly does stuff and then expects like huge praise and applause for it. I feel like I'm not appreciated. It is annoying, and all that's bad, and all that would put me at the bottom. But then the kidnapping the kids thing and you had it right. I'm very sensitive to children things, and the idea of like, I'm going to make them stay here, and it's my turn, and I'm going to take them from their mother. She's been taking them from me. Like, nope, you're out. that. If he was a perfect person besides that would have put him at the bottom for me.
Yeah. I also thought you would throw in the fact that he would always try to involve Daniel into his arguments.
Also true, too. Yeah.
Yeah, which I know you also find disgusting.
The other thing to stress, he has no parental rights to Daniel at all.
Right. That's so weird
and
why
wants
he
to
thinks.
keep that kid in South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So that rounds it out.
Yes, it does.
Pretty close. And a few
close-ish.
differences there at the bottom. But the top was pretty much agreed. But how many people are coming back next week?
Next week?
Well, for The Other Way in this show. We're going next week. We start The Other Way.
I don't think we have anyone in this group that's on The Other Way, right?
No, nobody from this group. You're right. Nobody from this group is on The Other Way.
Yeah, I know we see Jenny and Summit.
Yeah.
Samit. I forgot.
Yes.
I forgot. We're going to have to remind ourselves how to pronounce his name since there's been so many different versions floating around.
I like when she says Smee, like it's Captain Hook's like first mate. Like, where that one came from. Yeah. Oh, and we have Ariel Ambinium is coming back.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what else. Well, we'll find out with everybody next week, I guess.
Yes. So we'll find out.
But I'm definitely over this crew, and I hope I don't see any of them ever again.
Yeah, I know, right? Did you have a life lesson?
It's hard to come up with a life lesson for this one because, like you said at the beginning, nothing really moved forward. Like I feel like last week's tell-all, we had a lot of like new information coming up, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, I guess it's all about like, and I guess it goes to like Andrei and Charlie and stuff. It's just like it doesn't work to tiptoe around the elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. Like, it seems like until Andrei mentioned it, nobody was trying to mention Charlie's substance problems. And that seems to be the base of his issues with the family. And everybody was just trying to be like, oh, I don't know why he got fired. Did I get fired? What's going on?
At the same time, I could absolutely see that there's probably a lot more arguing that happens off camera.
Sure.
And then that's where the stuff comes out. Because I respect the fact that if this substance abuse is really part of, how they're going to resolve these problems, that they're not trying to throw Charlie under the bus in public, right? Because Charlie still needs to work, right? And so the last thing you would want to do is say these kinds of terrible things about, even if they're true, terrible things about your family member in a way that could negatively affect aspects of their life like employment.
Right. But I guess that's true. But I think there has to be a more productive way to do that than to blame somebody else for all the problems.
Sure. Yeah. But I feel like, maybe I hope there's conversations that we don't see. Because it would be sad if this was like literally the only fighting they do because they're like, oh, the cameras are here. Let's try hash this out now. It's like,
do you think they don't have their family barbecues? I don't think they have much to do with each other when the cameras turn off.
Well, yeah, that could be true too. So my life lesson also, family Libby, family and business, like mixing those two, really difficult. You need to have contracts, agreements, specific expectations about what it looks like, and then no one can argue about it.
Yeah. It's just, I'm sure the family business would be going fine. It's just pretty clear that it's a failing family business. Yes. Because if there were plenty of houses to go around, no one would be arguing about they're taking money out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Right? If the business was growing, everybody would be cool with it. But in fact, they're kind of, seems just like they're fighting over scraps. Yeah, definitely. And not even like the money thing, but it's like, oh, it's too much business for me to handle. I can't sell all these houses. Right. So I need someone else to help me. Like if it's a situation like that, then yeah, sure. You probably wouldn't be so sad about it. Yep.
All right, so that pretty much wraps it up, and I guess The Other Way is next week, so we will be back next week.
Yep. See everybody then.
Okay, bye.
All right. Bye.